Hi Stampers, welcome to Fairless Stamp and Flair. I am Pat Fairless and today I'm going to show you how to make an easy version of a side-step fun fold. The traditional one has a little more cutting and scoring that's kind of, it's not hard, but it's more complicated, let's just say. But I've got an easy version for you. So let's flip the camera down and let's get started. So this is the card. We are going to make a version of this card. It's basically going to be the same card, but I'm just going to use some different colors. And you can see here, let me show you this if I can. This is actually made with two pieces. So there's two card bases. There's this card base that's kind of in a lopsided W, I guess, if you put it that way. And then we have a side-step card over here. So I am going to use some blueberry bushel and balmy blue today for this. This tutorial will be on my blog post tomorrow, April 9th. So you'll be able to download that. That will have all the dimensions. They're all shown here, both for the card base and the side-step card. And then there's diagrams on the back that show us how to score those. And it gives the dimensions of each as well. So I think it'll be super simple for you. So here's our side step. And this was 8.5 by 3 3/4. 3 1/4, sorry. You could actually make this a little, trying to figure out if I did this right. Yeah. You could make this any width you want because it is a separate piece. So, and this is just a standard 8.5 by 5.5. And let me show you how we score this. And I'm going to use these diagrams over here. And I'll grab my trimmer, slide it down a bit so hopefully you can see the top. Let's start with the 8.5 by 5.5, and it gets scored at 1 1/4, 2.5, and 5.5. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this up. We've got that out of the way. 1 1/4, 2.5, and 5.5. Okay. So that scoring is all done. And then the side card is scored at 4 1/4, and that one is 8.5 by 3 1/4. And it's at 4 1/4. If you see me hesitate, it's because I'm always checking to make sure I have my scoring blade and not my cutting blade. So we're just going to go ahead and fold these and burnish them. As anytime you make a fun fold, it's always good to use your bone folder and give it a good burnish. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use just one of your acrylic blocks. Works great. And then this piece, it gets, the first one folds up and then back, and this long one is under, okay? And that is marked on the diagram. Your valley and mountain folds are marked on there. So you don't have to remember it. Just go download the tutorial. It's free. And it has all the directions and the dimensions that you'll need, okay? So that is that part of the card. Now, this piece will just get attached on here. But before we do that, we're going to decorate these pieces while they're flat. It's just a little easier. So the front one, I've already made my mats, and I've got balmy blue mats, and this designer series paper is the same as the one on the sample card, on the original card, and it's from Nature Walk DSP. This one has shades of green, greenish blue, I would say, because there's Lost Lagoon in here. There's Cloud Cover in this one and Pretty Peacock. And that's the color. I use Pretty Peacock and Very Vanilla because the background has some Very Vanilla. Today we're going to use white. So this just gets adhered directly on here. And I'm going to grab my grid paper just so for a couple reasons. I like to be able to center it in the camera frame so I know, gives me a little bit of a guideline to make sure I'm not over here down in the corner working, since so you can't see what I do. So I want my darker part at the bottom so that when I put this on here, I'm going to have a little bit lighter behind it. It's just the way I decided to make this card. You could do any way you choose. But we're going to go ahead and get these on here. And it slid. That's a blessing and a curse of liquid adhesive. It's a blessing because if you get it crooked, you can move it. But sometimes when you go to rub it down, it slides. So on this piece in the center here, I cheated and I just used a little bit shorter piece. I did that on this one too. You can see it doesn't go all the way through. There's no need. It's hidden. Save your designer series paper. So we're just going to mount it on this side. You could make it full length if you want. When I made the first one, the one in the Pretty Peacock colors, I cut my first piece of DSP for the side card. And then I had a piece that was perfectly good size for over here. It just didn't go all the way through, but it was the right height. And I'm like, well, I might as well just use that. So that's what I did. And you can't, if you don't tell anybody, they won't know. And if they do know, who cares? Because you can't see that anyway. It's kind of behind there. And then this piece, we're going to put here across the bottom. Okay, and you could put this down first or second after you put your side card on. I liked it down first. I've done them other ways as well. It's kind of a personal preference. But in this case, because of the focal point that I have with the friendly foliage, I need that whole height on my side card. If I were to have run this across here, I wouldn't, afterwards, I'd cover that up. So that's why I did it that way. But if you've got a smaller focal point up here and you want this to go across the bottom, that's fine too. Okay, so this card, portion of the card, is now done. And I'm going to go ahead and mount it to this because the main thing I want you to see how to do is to make this fun fold. We'll decorate it after. Now what I found here is I adhered this to this front with dimensionals. So to do that, I just kind of laid this here on the card so I could see where I wanted my dimensionals up here at the top. And I now I used probably a little more maybe than necessary or more than some people would. I'm just making sure this is straight here. I use 3 across here. You could probably get away with 2, but because it is adhering that portion of the fun fold to the base part of the fun fold, I decided to put 3. And then I also put 3 across the bottom down here. So I basically got 6 on here that's holding it to that. And I'm going to show you a really simple way. We are going to leave all these backings on here. And now this back piece is going to get adhered to the back of the base fun fold. And you want to line the bottom and this left edge up. So to kind of figure out where you got to put it, again, where you want your glue. And this is probably a little hard to see, but I want to make sure it's only on here. And so I'm putting it so it doesn't go out beyond, so I can see where I want it. If I put it on the inside here, it's hard to tell. I could measure this way, I guess, but I just found it easier. So now I'm going to lay this on here. And again, line the bottom edge and the left edge up. Just kind of pick it up and have your fingers line them up for you. And now you don't have to worry, because if I put it on the side card and if I got adhesive up here, I would risk the amount of problem when it closed it. I might close it shut, right? So that's why I put it on the back. And that's all described in the tutorial. Now we're going to close this card, okay? And if I fold this down, and if I cut everything right, this should be aligned here, and this should be aligned here. So now let's just pull off the backings. I'll leave this closed. And we'll close this over top and give a good press on our dimensionals. And our card is adhered, and it will close and fold in a standard A2 envelope. So that's how you make this Faux Side-Step Fun Fold. Now, let's go ahead and decorate it. So I used friendly foliage, and I'm gonna stamp it in blueberry bushel on a piece of basic white, and then we die cut that out with coordinating dies. And I do want to show you how those dies work. So, okay, this is a photopolymer stamp, and I need my paper piercing mat to give it a little cushion. And let's just ink this up. I do not use blueberry bushel very often. I don't know why. I like it. Every time I use it, I'm like, why don't I use this more often? It's a beautiful blue. If you love blue, this is like a really true blue. It's not as dark as a navy, and it's not as light as some of the others. So it's kind of just a real deep royal blue. It's called blueberry bushel. So now I'm going to show you how the dies work. If you haven't had a chance to play with this friendly foliage stamp set, that's why I want to show you the dies. So let me grab my dies, and we're going to use these two pieces. This piece here cuts the outer edges of your stamped image, and this one cuts your inner edges, or the openings in there, so that you can see through it. Now, I have found that it is helpful to put for me, it worked best to put the outside one on first. And you want to look at your stamped rectangle there and kind of make sure you got equal gaps, right? That'll make sure it's straight. And then you just do the best you can. So we're going to use a little washi tape to hold that in place. And a trick I found, if I do one corner, I can move the others if I need to. And I think it moved on me. It went a little to my left. So let's move it back and up. I should have had the washi tape in hand first. You do want to take your time getting this lined up as best you can. Because it doesn't look too good if it's not super, if it's really crooked, it'll look it'll look bad. There's some forgiveness, so don't get too anal on me. But now here, as I lay this one in here, again, I want to make sure inside of my stamped rectangle that I have equal gaps as close as I can all around. And then of course, watch your leaves to see that your leaves are lined up. Okay, and then we just run that through the die cut and emboss. I can do that quick, a minute, maybe. I get stuff out of the way. Okay. And here's my top plate. Now the washi tape really helps. I even extended it out so it's on the plate. Just helps hold it in place a little bit better. And then it pulls apart fairly easy. And so you can see how nice that cuts that out. Can you imagine fussing cutting that? I can't, it wouldn't happen. And I like to fussy cut, but it wouldn't happen with me. So now we're going to go ahead and put that here on the card front. And I had a second one. I put it on with dimensionals, and I've already put my dimensionals on there. You're going to want to either cut your full-size dimensionals in half or use mini ones so that you can get them on the little areas. For the edges, I just cut little strips off from the edges of my dimensionals. No part of a dimensional goes to waste in my house. Okay, and having that little bit of highlighter on there does definitely help see where they are. So now we're just going to center it. I want to make sure, since it's a rectangle in a rectangle, I think I need it a little to the right. And just make sure this gap here, I do better if I put it this way. And there we go. There's that. Now on here, I have a little sentiment. I am going to turn this in, rather than a sending love, which comes from the Friendly Foliage. The one on the blog post will have sending love, but you can always use whatever sentiments you have or want, right? I need birthday cards. So I am going to turn it into a birthday card. And I took this out of Banner Sayings, and I want to make sure I can tuck it underneath here, and I can. So then we're just going to snip a little flag in the end. You do it whatever way works best for you. Some people prefer to use like a little square punch. I just go in at the center of my strip, and then I come to each corner and cut to that little snip. People have different ways of doing that. Whatever works best for you is the way you should do it. So we're going to put that on there. And behind this, I made a little bouquet of some of these other leaves out here. And there are some dies that are just one of these fancy little squirrely leaves, hard to see, like that. So I have some of those pre-cut. Now, one thing I struggle with is making little bouquets of stuff out of bits and pieces. I never feel, I can't arrange a floral bouquet either. And so I think it has carried over into my card making. But what I have found is if I just take my silicone mat, works well. And I think I'm going to use the two lighter ones, maybe. I don't know. I want to see which ones look best on the background. but I've got some white pieces here too. So I'm going to start with these two. This is a balmy blue and a blueberry bushel. I've got a white one there if I want to switch. And I'm just going to kind of arrange them on my silicone mat and just lay them out that way. So I'll put these two out here. Just kind of in the middle. And my problem is I never have enough fingers to hold them all in place. That's why laying them down tends to work better for me. And I've got this little short leaf too. Maybe like that underneath. Okay, kind of like that. So now they're there and they're laying still. And I like to take a piece of Scotch tape and go over the top. And I can pick this up and they're all stuck to the tape. Now this isn't going to stick to the back of my sentiment, but that's okay. We're just gonna, I'm gonna have to trim this because this is kind of narrow anyway. So I have to trim this down. So we're just gonna cut this off. And I'm gonna fold these towards the back. And then I can take this and put this, I might have to trim a little bit more, but I just want to put that. Now I can lay it on here and figure out where do I want these on the back. Okay, I'm going to put them kind of right in the center. This sentiment is a little bit shorter than my other one was. Narrower, I should say. It is shorter and narrower because the happy birthday was shorter and narrower. And now I just take another piece of Scotch tape, hold that in place, and run this across the back of that sentiment. Now I can just cut this off even with the bottom of the sentiment. And same here. And we'll look at the front, see if I still have anything sticking out. Oh, a piece of Scotch tape stuck on my finger. There. At least it's not gluey. And we're just going to get a little bit more that's just a couple of those stems are sticking out down there. Okay. Awesome. That's how I do the little bouquets. It gives me a way to kind of figure out where to put them. Some people can just put them in and stick them on the back or glue them on here. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. Maybe you have trouble too. So try the suggestion I came up with. And because I got 3 things that are attached onto my sentiment, my full-size dimensionals just fit. So now I'm just going to tuck this end under there so you don't see the end, and push down on the dimensionals. And there we go. That is that, except there's no place to write a message except on the back. So we're going to make a mat, decorated mat for the back. And I'm just going to stamp a couple of those tall leaves over down here in the corner. Where's my stamp? Here we go. And I should put this on my, again, my cushy, my little cushy. Give it a little cushion. Just get a little bit crisper image when you do that. So let's just stamp these down here. And we can put this, map this on a piece of blueberry bushel and then white so that it shows up on the card base. Probably could have just done the white on this one. on my Pretty Peacock, I had Pretty Peacock on Pretty Peacock, and I didn't see it, so I added Very Vanilla. So I just did this one the same. Oh, we should stamp our sentiment. I like to stamp before I glue it down, because if I screw up, then I can at least flip it over and stamp on the other side. So this stamp is from Friendly Foliage. It says, wishing you the best. I think that works for birthday. And it helps me to line this up. I don't know why. Then I know my paper's at least straight. There you go. That helps me to get it straight. And if I didn't have the camera right here, I'd be right over top of it, making sure it was straight, but it's close enough. Where's my glue? Here it is. All right, so our last, put this on the, wasn't too bad. What do you think about that faux sidestep card? I should have had a sample out here of the original version of a sidestep. It's a very cool card. But the finished product looks a lot like this. It's just a lot easier. This is a lot easier. This takes a little bit more paper because that one you can make out of, you make it out of one piece of, I think, probably 8.5 by 5.5. But you have to do some partial cutting and some partial scoring and all that fun stuff. So, oh, I had ink on my fingers. I see it. Oh, well, that's where I'll have to write their name. Right there. Whoever it's for, that's where their name is going, right on top of the ink. Okay, there. I'm still wondering if I should have used the white one down here. What do you guys think? Would you like the white better? I don't know. I'm going to call it good. So I used a piece of the same designer paper for that, for the envelope. And we have a piece of this designer paper for this card. And there is our faux sidestep card. What do you think? Which one do you like best? Do you like the blueberry bushel or the Pretty Peacock? It's a difficult choice. This one to me looks maybe a little more masculine. I'm not sure why, just the colors. Pretty Peacock is one of my all-time favorite colors. So, okay, let me flip my camera back over here. All right, we made it. And my camera didn't go blank this time. I don't know if you watched last week's video, but that was not fun. I still don't know what happened. I don't know if my camera or my phone, which I use as my camera, if it just lost connection, dropped Wi-Fi or something. I'm not sure. But it didn't happen today, so I'm hoping it's all going to be good when I play it back to make sure. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I will answer the questions as best I can. And tomorrow, like I said, the tutorial will be on my April 9th blog post, and you'll be able to get all the dimensions, and I'll also put a link to this video on there so you can keep the two together. You won't have to go back and find the video later. So again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. If you give me a thumbs up, that would be awesome. And God bless. We will see you next week with something else.